Give
No,
Matt the,
we're waiting for his Matt.
Yep.
Matt and Polly. Alrighty. Let's call this meeting to order. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge
Allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. Kelly, can I do a roll call vote for attendance, please?
Director Lotiger.
Here.
Director Sadler's here. Director Addy.
Here.
Director Sorkin. Here. Director Gentilini.
He is absent.
Absent. Director Yuhan.
Here.
Director Schobert.
Here. Okay, so that's six present, one absent. Okay, 4.0, agenda additions and deletions. Do we have any, Jeff?
There is one that I'm supposed to do, but I didn't send you the information today, and I think I can probably wait till we have a special meeting later on this month. We need to name Noel as the Iowa, the individual with authority. We can wait though.
Okay.
So, nothing
right,
more.
Very good.
Jeff, how about the request for either parts for work on the boiler?
Boiler.
Oh. We gotta replace the mud legs on the boiler. Boiler number 3. Let's put that on, and I'll dig you up a quote here. It's one of those things where it's not really debatable. It kind of needs to happen. So, yeah, well, let's add that to. It would be 11.2, approved quote on boiler repair.
Hey, Jeff, did we get any information in regards to John Powers? Have you contacted him yet in regards to that? What have you discussed?
I don't have any information yet, no.
Okay, has Noel called?
I'm not sure. Not sure.
Right. Okay, so we're just gonna add 11.2, correct?
Yep.
Okay,
Wouldn't that be 11.5?
I have 11.2.
I think I have 11.2 review of distant learning.
That's last meeting.
No.
Oh, shoot.
Huh?
I better get with
Still on
them.
here.
All right.
You put left it on here.
Hello.
Hello, all right, gotcha.
Approve renewal of Minnesota State High School League membership.
That was last meeting.
I gotcha. Yeah, I told you I flew into town.
You know we're on the agenda.
I'm looking at what I sent you, and it's not on there.
What was 11.1?
11.1, I'm reviewing upcoming consolidation activities.
Thank you.
11.1 is what?
Okay, so are we good there? Okay, 5.0 visitor input. Do we have any?
Yes, we have a number of visitor input. We have, first up, we have Jack Gritzmacher.
Okay, go ahead.
I was a little surprised when the decision was made at the last board meeting regarding the change in the band trip schedule. Mostly because we have an activity director and who was completely left out of the loop. Also, the following week, we have our annual extracurricular activities calendar meeting, where everybody comes to the table and we look at all the next year and sometimes there are conflicts, and we have to hash it out and work on it. But the board decided to move on this decision before we even had that meeting. So I was a little surprised by that. I would have thought that would have happened after the meeting. Also, there are a number of issues because of the change. It's going to impact the end of our speech season, our regular season. We have our Grand Rapids finale on the 27th of March. So much of the team, at least I would think 10 or 11 members of the team that I know of are also in band, and they wouldn't be there. And our regular season finale. Also, our subsection is 2 days later on Monday, the 29th, meaning that that whole week before our subsection, with the revised band trip dates, our speech kids would be out of town. So they would not only miss the finale, they would miss that probably the most important practice week of the season, leading up to that finale and also subsections.
Hey, Jack, when are sections, speech sections?
Sections are the 17th of April.
There's that much time in between subsections and sections?
Yes, because of Easter.
Okay, go ahead, Jack.
So you have a letter that our speech captains drafted. Have you had a chance to take a look at that?
We just got it about 10 or 15 minutes before the meeting started.
Okay.
Where was that?
I never.
I just sent you an email.
Oh. Can you bring it up, Jeff, on the screen? Because I didn't get a chance to look at it.
So another
It
point,
is pretty hard to read something and digest it and be able to comment with any intelligence to it when you haven't seen it.
right. Another consideration is that with the revised band trip schedule, the students are missing out on the last week of the quarter, which, as a teacher, it certainly seems problematic to me. And then there's another major consideration. The Virginia Eveleth-Gilbert Spring Musical Performance dates are March 25th through the 28th, which would eliminate any of our band kids from participating. And I would think that would be a major consideration. And I doubt that came up at the board meeting because it was on our extracurricular activity schedule that's been posted for a long time internally that we discussed at our meeting. But the decision had already been made before we had our meeting. So I was a little surprised that that happened. I was also a little surprised that I wasn't invited to the meeting since this has such huge impact on the end of our speech season.
Can I interrupt for 1 second, Jack? I'm just wondering why I wasn't aware of that meeting that you guys had that was following our meeting to make a decision on a date. I guess why was there a reason that it was put on the agenda prior to the meeting where everyone can get together and review the dates and everything?
I wasn't even aware that this was an issue.
Yeah, no, and I'm asking, I guess I'm asking a little bit more to Jeff or Bill. I'm wondering about why it was put on the agenda prior to a planning meeting. Because I agree with what Jack is saying, that I would think that we would have the discussion after, but I wasn't aware of even that planning meeting existing.
Yeah, I was going to mention that as well. There was the board, when we were discussing it, I don't recall there ever being a meeting mentioned that was taking place soon after our board meeting. And in addition to that, Mr. Grissmacher, what I'm hearing you say is that staff had already gotten together and talked out some of these.
Well,
that's what was going to be discussed at that meeting.
Correct. As we put together our master list, we plug in dates and we talk about it the whole year. And then we meet every year in the spring as a group to haggle over some of the conflicts. Well, we never got the opportunity to do that before this board meeting. And if I'm not mistaken, this wasn't an agenda item, was it? It was it resulted from visitor input.
It was an agenda item.
It was?
I believe it was. I'm just looking right now.
It is. Was.
Yeah, I do believe that it was a agenda item.
What date was that, Jeff?
What date was the agenda? Or
Yeah.
the last meeting? May 26th.
26th?
Yep.
I guess I'm a little, and that was a hot topic area, and I don't know if, I don't even know if it's okay for me to even be talking. I should probably just be listening to what they're doing, but I guess I'm just concerned on the if this meeting was already being planned and we made a decision beforehand, that doesn't seem appropriate. And then also that there was no mention on that being the last quarter of the last week of the quarter, which is a big deal to me for academic wise, and irregardless of sports or extracurricular activities in any such way, that would have influenced a big piece of my decision, because I do, academics comes first, and I know that last week matters to students that get behind and struggle, and that last week matters to them. Sorry, I will let Jack continue and other people's.
Well, I guess my main point is that in many respects, it became a moot point at our meeting because the decision had already made, and we kind of went back and forth. Well, these aren't good dates, which is what we would normally do in that meeting. So there was some discussion about having the board take another look at it if that was possible.
My recollection, if I might just add here, and I might be on, if I am, tell me. But the reason the dates were chosen, or we were told that the dates of April 5th through the 11th were chosen was twofold, and that's articulated in Mr. Schumal's letter. One was the students would miss one less day of school, where I believe that March 26th is scheduled as a teacher in service, so that is not true. And the other reason was because it would be cheaper. And we asked him what the differences in price would be, and he said they hadn't priced either week. So, I mean, it was set to approve it. They're saying these are the reasons. And Mr. Schumal in the meeting and also said if you aren't comfortable with it, then we'll, if you could, he requested we approve March 22nd through 28th if we weren't comfortable with April 5th through 11th. That's why we acted.
Matt, was there any other visitor input that night?
Yes, Coach Linseth spoke on behalf of moving it into March where it has historically been, or at least the last 2 trips have been.
I think the concern is that we didn't. I don't know. I still am interested to hear from others, but I think the concern is clearly we made a decision without having everyone represented at the meeting, or at least if we had a coach represented or Jamie speaking on behalf of the coaches, we certainly should have had someone from speech represented that was going to be getting impacted from that too. Again, I don't know why we would have had that on that meeting's agenda if there was already this planned meeting to discuss the schedule for next year. That doesn't make any sense to me at all. And also, I mean, and with that, I would have thought that in that planned discussion for the regular meeting, that it would have come to light that that last quarter is the last, or that week is the last week of our quarter, and that matters. So I don't know what can be done if we can have another discussion. I don't know if any decisions have been made on the band. I don't know. I mean, I think the board would have to be okay and open it up to that discussion because action was made, was taken on that. So I guess I don't know what that would be, but I would be interested in it.
So Jeff, what was the agenda item? How was it stated on it? To approve the band trip, or was it to?
There was Angie asked me to put the recommendation for the Florida trip on the agenda.
To approve the Florida trip.
To approve the Florida trip.
Okay, and by virtue of visitor input, we changed it based on the visitor input's recommendations.
Yep.
Without having input from the speech team to debate that.
We based it on the input we had from the band director, and when Coach Linseth saw the proposed dates, he asked to be added to the agenda.
Yeah. Well, the band director had been in communication with me all along, and he was just brought into the board meeting that day.
Well, and I invited him in because normally this is not a hot button issue. I mean, you put a band trip in front of the board, they approve it and we move on. But I did hear that there was some discontent over it, so that's when I invited Kevin, because I figured he should at least be able to defend his proposal.
I believe he did put it in writing, and I think he was intending for the 5th through the 11th all along. And I don't know what happened at that last board meeting, but I think he may have felt a little pressure to change the date.
Jeff, JoJo's on here. Is it okay if I say something quickly?
It's actually up to the chair.
Yeah, go ahead, Jojo.
Oh, sorry. Were we still on just visitor input? I'm driving, so I can't have my picture up there right now. But I didn't know about it. I didn't know that this was going forward. I obviously wasn't here for the previous band trip since they go every 4 years or whatever it is. So I don't know how it's usually handled. Like you said, it's usually not a big deal, but it's a hot item because it's later than normal. After the board meeting, Jack had emailed me, and then I talked to him, and then I also talked to Kevin. And I don't want to speak for Kevin, but Kevin did, like Jack said, I think he felt a little bit of pressure to choose the other week because he did make it clear to me that the other week is better for them for all band planning reasons. And I can see both sides of spring coaches. If we have a really good spring, there's going to be a lot of students there affected as well, because I'm sure a lot of the students play multiple sports. And Jack, I would hate, I mean, if it was at the end of a spring sports season or winter sports season, it would be hard that way as well for coaches to say, yeah, that's fine, you know, we can do that. So it's not a fun situation, and it doesn't sound like it's ever gone like this before. So I don't know. That's what I know of the situation, and I can definitely see both sides of it, as I'm sure the rest of the board is hearing right now.
So Jack,
And it's unfortunate you can't go that week in between those 2 weeks, but that's right over Easter, and you're not going to take kids away from their family on Easter and expect them to travel. So.
And I do think Mr. Schumal's here. I'm not sure, but I think so. But I think he was just trying to be accommodating. I mean, I felt like he was trying to listen to both sides, and he just wanted to do what the board wanted him to do. So that pressure part, there might be a little bit of that as well, like you're saying.
You know, if the board feels differently, that motion can be rescinded. And changed to different dates.
Does it have to be rescinded by the person that made the motion?
No, anybody who votes on the prevailing side at the same meeting can vote to recall it or whatever it is, but you can rescind it at a subsequent meeting by motion and a vote.
So I would ask the board if they have any problems with rescinding the motion from the May 26th meeting in regards to changing the band trip. I would ask.
Put it on the agenda when.
Well.
The agenda later.
I believe it was a June 8th meeting, just to be accurate.
May 20th.
I got the wrong packet. I got June 8th in front of me, and it was 11.3 approve out-of-state band 2021 out-of-state band trip, June 8th.
Today's June 8th.
But it's on the agenda again.
Here, this is what I sent you.
The information letter and the agenda.
It's on the May 26th minutes and the agenda.
That's why it's.
May 26th.
Yes, but it's on the agenda for tonight also.
Oh.
I apologize. It should not be on there tonight. That it got lost in translation between me and Deb. Last meeting's new business is on there on the agenda. It's not on the information letter. If you look at the information letter, that's what we're supposed to be following.
Yeah, it's not on the board book. That's been adjusted.
It's not in my packet either.
Oh.
So I guess I would like it to be added to an agenda. I would ask that that Mr. Schumal hold off on making any decisions or movement on it, but not to err on the side of, because I feel that that a decision was made hastily where we didn't have all the information, and it's okay to say that we may have jumped the gun on it. I would hope that we would pull in, again, having some representatives from the sports, having representatives from band and from speech, and then of course our athletic director for discussion, and then we would make a decision on it. I would just want to make sure that we're not swinging one way or the other, and that we're having that. I would hope that there was discussion in that meeting, Jack, for you guys reviewing the next year's dates and everything. That could be brought to that meeting then for us to review, discuss, and then make a decision at that point, if people would be in agreement with that.
So at the next meeting, at our next regular meeting, we want to rescind the motion of having that date, the date that and then go back, revisiting it, and then in voting, having both sides give input, and then take action. Is that what I'm hearing, Kelly?
That is what I would request. And again, I mean, the reality is, and what I said last month when we voted on this, no decision is going to be ideal for anyone. And so I think everyone coming to the table has to be okay with that and knowing. I just want to make sure that we're doing our best in making sure that we're looking at all of the sides and the impacts of each of those weeks, and not just in sports or extracurricular activities, but also in the education piece of it. So.
Agreed.
Okay, so so Jeff, can we put that on the next meeting to revisit this and make some, and revisit it, have both sides come and give visitor input, then we can take action on it?
Sure.
Yeah. Is there, board members have any problem with that?
Nope.
No,
Pretty good?
I would look at all the weeks, not just focus on the two. I know there's a boys a state basketball tournament weekend before, but being realistic, we haven't been there in a long time. I don't know if we're gonna go back there next spring. I hate to say that, but I'd look at all the weeks and so we can make the best call possible.
So
and
again,
I think that it makes sense
I
to
agree
me
with
that
that, John.
and it makes sense to me that JoJo would be a part of the conversation with Jack and Mr. Schumal as well.
Yes, I will for sure.
so bring in some more weeks then, Jack, and you know, bring in some more weeks at other week options, okay? Did I say that right? Band trip time options, okay?
Isn't that what Director Schumal should be doing?
Yes.
Yeah, that would,
Well,
Well, he and I have talked extensively on this, and really there are only two options. The one
That was my understanding.
the one that was planned, and then what it was changed to.
yeah.
That was my understanding from the last meeting.
Okay, so we'll discuss this at the next meeting then, I guess, and we'll take some action to get the band trip voted on. Is there any more
And that-
visitor?
Bill, are we gonna give Amara a chance to say anything?
Oh, I said, is there any more visitor input? Go ahead.
Hi, I'm Amara Carey, and I'm involved in the arts, athletics, and academics, but I'm here right now as both a speech captain and drum major. Obviously, there's a lot of issues regarding this decision, but I really hope that with new information that has come up, that we are able to come up to the decision that will be the best for the most amount of people, for the greater good. I'm really feeling like I should maybe come to the next meeting as visitor input and maybe share more of my stuff, ideas then, because I feel like that would be a more appropriate time to talk.
Okay.
And that'll give
Thanks,
the board an
Mara.
opportunity. Yeah, thank you. But that'll give the board the opportunity to read the letter that you sent as
Yeah.
well.
Is there any more visitor input? Thanks, Amara.
Thank
Thanks,
you for your
Jack.
time.
Yeah.
I
Thanks.
have visitor input,
Who's that?
but I'm
Melissa,
Oh, okay.
but I don't know if you're calling for visitor input on that topic or not.
Any visitor input?
Okay, so on that topic, I just want to ask JoJo a question. JoJo, have the games been scheduled for, I listened to last meeting, and a big portion of this had to do with sports season's games. Have the games been scheduled yet for spring of next year?
Melissa, can you hear me right now?
Yep.
Okay, wait, I'm plugging you into my car here. Yes, the games are all scheduled for next spring.
Okay, are any of those games able to be rescheduled based on a band trip?
Yes, they could be scheduled around it. I've only in those 2 years, I would have to go back and look at which ones were canceled. We haven't had the greatest springs in those 2 years, which I would think that kind of has followed suit the last few years as well. So it's tough to say. I did pull all the schedules though, because I had told Jack and Kevin after I was contacted by them that I would look into that and look for each sport, how many would be affected, and then we could take a look at how many different students would be affected in all those sports.
Okay,
I don't
just
have them in
throwing that out. I know that wasn't something that was brought up at the last meeting. That could be an easy help to the sports season if their games weren't scheduled during that week, so then they didn't have to cancel games.
And that would be arriving home, was it the 7th?
I don't remember.
The way it currently sits, I think it's coming home the 7th, correct? Is that what everyone?
It's the 5th through the 11th.
Oh, 5th through the 11th. I was thinking it was the 7th. Okay. 5th through the 11th. I would say at the very earliest, depending on weather. I mean, it would be somewhere in that week in a decent spring.
Right. I mean, just a thought to look into.
Yeah, I can pull out. Yep, I'll pull I have all the schedules in my office, and then whenever we meet, I can share those with everyone.
Okay, thank you.
Everything's already planned, but it can definitely be rearranged if it needs to be.
Thank you. Anyway, on a lighter note, I
Welcome.
don't know if this is quite the venue for what I have to say, but I think it needs to be said. Typically we would do this at a staff meeting, but we don't have a staff meeting left, so I thought this would be the best platform. The Franklin teachers would like to express our appreciation to Mr. Carey for the 5 years he's been in our building. And yes, Randy, just like Jamie, get emotional when you thank the people in charge. Anyway, so here you go. See if I can do it with all the speech people in here tonight. Anyway.
And I thought I had made the last kid cry at the Franklin.
Right? Well, you'll always make me cry. I don't know. Anyway,
Thanks,
as the school year has come and gone, we wanted to thank you for what you have done. We appreciate all the fun stuff and hope the pranks didn't leave you in a huff. As you prepare to depart from the staff, we want to send you out with your better half. She will take you out to watch the twins, and we can only hope that they actually win. So much appreciation. When twins reopen, you get to go to a game with your family. So
thanks, Melissa.
Anyway, thank you so much. Very kind.
And
Thanks,
actually,
Melissa.
Yep.
now that I'm out of that building, I'm going to return all those pranks to you. 'Cause I don't have to worry about retaliation.
Hey, you're looking at the wrong guy.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Melissa.
Thanks, Melissa.
Thanks.
Franklin teachers for part of that. That is nice to hear. And I'm glad that the appreciation is recognized. So,
Okay. Any more visitor input?
Not that I'm aware of.
Alrighty. We'll move along to 6.0. Approve the agenda. I get a motion to approve the agenda.
I'll move.
Director Lotiger. Go ahead, Kelly.
Okay, I'll move with the 2 additions for 11.1 and 11.2.
Director Lotiger will support.
Moved by Director Sather and second by Director Lotiger. There was just one added, if I remember right. Just one item added. That would be 11.2. Approve the quote for boiler repair. Correct?
Right.
I don't have 11.1 on my agenda.
Look on the information letter.
Look, Kelly. You read it?
Yeah.
Or is it backwards?
Why wouldn't it be on my?
Oh, don't mind my sloppy writing. Okay.
I'm confused.
I
might be able to shed some light on it.
On the written agenda, I got 11.1 through 11.4 on board. There's nothing under new. And the information letter, there's 11.1. And
Mr. Schober?
I'm sorry. Yes.
Mr. Schober? When Mr. Carey sent me the agenda through Google Docs, the 11.1 through 11.4 were on there, so I assumed those were going back on the agenda. And then he sent the information letter, and I didn't realize that
those two items were different. So really, you guys should change the agenda to remove 11.1 through 11.4 and then add in 11.1, review upcoming consolidation activities, and then the other one that we were just talking about that you wanted to add, the boiler repair.
Yeah, and that's
That's what happened with that.
and that's how I had it, because the initial agenda then on board book doesn't have anything on 11. So then I
Right.
would need to add 11.1 and then 11.2.
Okay, so I can get a motion. Okay, so we have
Thank
to
you.
amend, we have to amend the motion to,
Nope.
no,
I made the
I
motion.
think Kelly got it right.
I made the
Okay.
motion for the 2 items to be added.
okay, all right. Any discussion on that? Can I get a roll call vote for that, Kelly?
Yeah. Myself, Director Sather's a yes. Director Addy,
Yes.
Director Sorkin,
Again.
Holly?
Holly.
I was muted, yes.
Okay, thank you. And Director Gentilini is absent. Director Yuhan
Yes.
and Director Schoberg,
Yes.
Director Lotiger.
Yes.
The agenda is approved 6-0.
Okay, 7.0, approve the treasury report for the first month of May and the first check writing of June.
Mr. Chair, board members, in your packet, you see, the treasury report for the month of May with, total receipts of $1,133,729.96. Disbursements, $329,417.69, and payroll of $676,864.22. Balances as of the end of May: Miners Bank, $1,922,170.32. First National Bank at Gilbert, $2,065,240.28, for a total of $3,987,410.60.
Can I get a
Yeah,
motion?
Also, it's for the treasurer's report for the first check writing in the month of June. Total disbursements totaling $218,437.80.
Can I get a motion to approve the treasury report for the month of May and the first check writing in June?
I'll move. Director Yuhan.
Moved by Director Yuhan. I'll support by
Support.
Director. Oh, I beat you to it.
That's okay.
Any discussion? I have a discussion item here. Check number 51547 on page 1 at 6/3, June 3rd of 2020, and then check writing 51421, both written to Brown Transportation for the first amount is $28,409 and $28,783. Jeff, I guess school's not in session. Can you give a little clarity of why? I mean, if we ain't got no school in session, just have to ask the question: why is Brown Transportation getting paid $29,020?
It's a fair question. The
Delivery of meals?
Oh, sorry.
Is that delivery of meals, Jeff?
No, it's a fair question. Part of the governor's order was all of our contracts that we held for secondary services have to be honored. It was just like all of our employees that weren't working that we had to pay, same deal.
All right, very good. I just had to ask that question.
I have a
Go ahead, Matt.
584 to the Cunningham Group for $143,000 and some odd dollars.
Yeah, that's their. They bill us monthly for their services on the elementary school.
Shouldn't those be paid through the joint powers?
That is a great question.
That's what I would think too.
Spencer tells me to approve it, so I hit the check mark. So I'll ask him tomorrow.
And that's gonna deplete our general fund if we're paying out all this stuff.
It's not coming out of a general fund. I know that. I'll ask Spencer tomorrow. It's a good question.
Okay,
Thanks.
There should be some Kraus Anderson bills in there too. So same deal.
Yep, and so, yeah, because I mean, with the Joint Powers Board, that should, once that was formed, that really should be managing expenses for the building expenses versus the independent.
All of the money for the construction is held by the joint powers.
Yes.
Yeah.
Good point. I'll call Spencer in the morning.
And
okay, any
related,
more dis-
yeah,
go ahead.
related to, I was just wondering then, any attorneys' fees that we are paying out, are they properly the same way now for the joint powers? Or us, we were released from that,
We have not incurred any legal bills because of anything the Joint Powers Board did.
so all of our legal expenses are our district.
Yep.
Any more discussion on the treasury report? Can I get a roll call?
We need to,
Huh?
do we need to remove those things that were mentioned? Do we need to remove them?
Well, they're still going to be paid, and they're still coming out of the same account. But to Matt's point, the joint board probably should have been the ones that approved it.
And start going forward and moving it over to the Joint Powers Board.
But these will be coming out of our district till the June 30th, right?
Out of the bond proceeds, yeah.
So I suppose we should exclude those two, because we're still under our own school district. I'll make a motion to that effect. The Cross Anderson one is 51516 for 39,106. The other one is check number 51584, 143,754 and 49 cents. Okay, amendment. Do we have a motion and a second already? Yeah, we do, because we're in this. I'll make.
So we're making a motion to approve the
Amend
treasury
that
report.
The
Say it
motion,
again?
the motion has been made and seconded, and I guess that would be an amendment to that motion to exclude those two.
Just as a point of question for the whole board, because this is not the first month that this has happened, and neither Virginia's doing the same thing. How do you want us to correct this?
Go back all the way then, I guess.
Well, so you say Virginia's doing the same thing.
I know.
Are we approving 100% of the invoices, or 40%, or how's all this going down? I mean, in the joint powers,
They have.
I believe we get a treasurer's report that shows the balances and the money related to the construction of the schools coming out of it every month. Although last month we didn't get one because it wasn't ready.
So what you're saying, Jeff, is like the Cunningham Group and Carlos Anderson, anything related to the construction of the school should be being approved by the Joint Powers Board, and not us.
Right. But currently,
So
I'm not sure how it's broken out, but I know Virginia gets the same deal. I think everything on the high school side is being approved by Virginia right now, and just Cunningham and Kraus Anderson.
I think the difficult, or to try to understand, or at least where I struggle with it, is that the Joint Powers Board is responsible for the entire building process and the construction process and authorizing the monies to be paid out for that. However, how the referendum and the money was broken down is Eveleth-Gilbert has so much money from that, and then Virginia has the other amount from that.
I'm almost thinking what happened there is, if you remember, the initial contract was signed with both Cunningham and Kraus Anderson, was signed by Virginia with Eveleth-Gilbert as the owner reps, and I don't believe the Joint Powers Board is named on those contracts. I'll ask.
I mean, and
Spencer
the reality is come July 1st, it's all under the monies together and it's all getting paid out under the same umbrella at that point. But it would be nice to make sure that we're doing something the proper way right
but
now,
that's,
too.
I mean, the question is, it appears to me, and I know I sound silly here, but it appears to me that these expenditures are coming out of our treasury. These expenditures should be paid for with bond proceeds.
I hear you.
How I see things.
No, and you're absolutely correct. I'll call Spencer in the morning. That's all I can do.
So I do think Polly's right. I do think Polly's right in taking those out then, and you can talk to Spencer and figure out how that's all done, so we can make sure that we're not paying something out of funds that we shouldn't be paying out of.
We wouldn't even have that.
So I will.
We wouldn't even have this amount of money in our coffers, in our balance, fund balance.
So I will support Polly's amendment.
And are there any from ARI or DSGW either in the past?
No, because all of those go through Cunningham. Cunningham is ARI and DSGW are subs of Cunningham, so we get billed from Cunningham for all the architectural services.
So we got a motion by Director Sorkin.
Amendment, yeah.
Amendment by Director Sorkin, which was amendment in support by Director Lotiger, to remove any construction-related bills regarding the elementary from our treasurer's report. That is what I'm hearing?
Approve payment for those, yeah.
Approve payment? Okay.
Until we figure out what pot of money it should be coming from.
Right.
And who needs to be approving it.
Okay. So we got a motion to approve the treasury report with the amendment by Director Sorkin, which has support by Director Lotiger. The original motion to approve the treasury report was made by Director Yuhan, support by Director Addy. Any more discussion?
So I guess for ease of minutes, is it fine if Director Yuhan and Director Addy are fine with you guys changing your motion, and then we don't even need the amended motion, we can just request that. Okay. If they're in agreement, we can change that motion, that's required.
I'll rescind my motion to approve the treasurer's report, okay?
That's fine with me.
Okay, or no, okay? And to approve the treasurer's report made by Director Sorkin and support by Director Lotiger to remove any construction-related expenses till we get further clarification of where that money's coming from.
Yep.
Okay.
Well, I know where it's coming from. I mean, there's no way Spencer is taking that out of our general fund. It's just a matter of who should be approving it. That's the question.
Yeah.
But if it's a check written on our general account,
it's coming out of
that's my confusion.
But,
right.
Well, I'll ask Spencer. We could go on forever here.
And I would request that not just for the payments that are in this report, but any other construction related expenditures that should be paid for out of the bond proceeds.
That's part of the amendment. That's part of the motion now, the new motion.
And probably make the recommendation if Virginia's doing the same thing out of their general fund or general expenditures and paying, that they should be also looking at this coming out of the bond proceeds. So, any more discussion on the treasury report? Can I get a roll call vote, Kelly?
Yes. Director Addy,
Yes.
Director Sorkin,
Yes.
Director Gentilini is absent, Director Yuhan,
Yes.
Director Schoberg,
Yes.
Director Lotiger,
Yes.
and myself, Director Safe is a yes. The treasurer's report with the exclusion is approved.
All right. 8.0. Approve the consent agenda as seen in your board packet, A through F. Can I get a motion to approve the consent agenda?
I'll move.
Moved by Director Sather.
Support.
By Director Lotiger. Any discussion on anything in the consent agenda, A through F, as seen in your board packet?
Just one note, Mr. Chair. On E, with the resignation of the early childhood aid, we're not, at this time, we're not going to request to post and replace that, as we'll wait to see what happens this fall, if we need to replace it or not.
Okay, so we'll approve the consent agenda with E as in not looking to replace that position, correct?
Not yet.
Okay. Any discussion on that? Can I get a roll call vote, Kelly?
Yes. Director Sorkin,
Yes.
Director Gentilini is absent, Director Yuhan,
Yes.
Director Schoberg,
Yes.
Director Lotiger,
Yes.
myself, Director Sather is a yes, Director Addy,
Yes.
consent agenda is approved.
9.0 items removed from consent agenda. There was none. 10.0 personnel. Approve the 2019-2021 labor agreement with the Buildings and Grounds Director of Buildings and Grounds.
Mr. Chair, the negotiating team recommends approving this contract, which includes a salary increase of 5% in year 1, 5% in year 2, an increase of $500 on the HSA contribution, and a 15% increase in board insurance contribution.
Okay, can I get a motion to approve the contract for the Director of Buildings and Grounds?
So moved.
Moved by Director Schober. Support?
Support.
Who was it?
Randy,
Yuhan, have it.
who else?
You can pick.
Director Yuhan can have it.
All right.
Okay,
I'll take it.
any discussion?
And I have a clarification, a question. 10.1 in our packet, the copy of that contract says Director of Maintenance and Transportation. It doesn't say Director of Buildings and Grounds, but on top of that, I had asked before about job descriptions to match these contracts. And if we've had new job descriptions written, which we have, we need to approve them, probably have discussions about them, approve them, and not just automatically change a job description. And I don't even know who did it. I assume that Noel rewrote them. So I think that, because they are
So
different than this ones.
Are you saying, Polly, that in the Directors of Maintenance and Transportation, it should be the same as, it should be Director of Buildings and Grounds?
Or whatever the job is going to be. I mean, it's just the first clerical, or maybe even a typo. It's the first one that I noticed on here.
So because on 10.1 it says Directors of Maintenance and Transportation, and then
Yeah.
10.1 it's Directors of Buildings and Grounds. So you would want that changed to just
That's a simple thing, but the further issue is these about the job descriptions and the duties and the job descriptions and how they've been changed. I mean, somebody should have a discussion at some point in time, even if it's the new board. But
okay.
Job descriptions have to be approved.
Okay.
I agree, Polly, and I think that would be a function that once we're all together and as things have changed, we should look at all PDs.
Right, because the second year, a couple of these contracts are going to be even different in the duties of two of our people. So, it's important. Okay.
Okay, so we got a motion by Director Schoberg, support by Director Yuhan. Any more discussion? Can I get a roll call? Huh?
Just with the change in the title.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. To approve this with the change in the title, I guess.
I have no issues with that, but he actually was the director of maintenance and transportation for the first year of the contract.
Now that is true. So it's going to be half of one and half of another, right? Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I see your point. That's a good point.
Can I get a roll call vote, Kelly?
Yes. Director Gentilini is absent. Director Yuhan.
Yes.
Director Schoberg.
Yes.
Director Lotiger.
Yes.
Myself, Director Sather is a yes. Director Addy.
Yes.
Director Sorkin.
Yes.
And the labor agreement is approved 6-0.
Okay, 10.2, approve the 2019-2021 labor agreement with the payroll clerk.
Mr. Chair, the negotiating team recommends the board approve the contract as enclosed, which includes 4% increase in salary in year 1, 3% salary year 2, $500 increase in the HSA contribution, and 5 additional days of vacation.
Can I get a motion to approve that? I'll move. Moved by Director Addy, support.
Director Lotiger.
Support by Director Lotiger. Any discussion? Can I get a roll call vote, please, Kelly?
Yes. Director Yuhan.
Yes.
Director Schoberg.
Yes.
Director Lotiger.
Yes.
Myself, Director Sather is a yes. Director Addy.
Yes.
Director Sorkin.
Yes.
Director Gentilini is absent.
The motion passes. 10.3, approve the 2019-2021 labor agreement with the executive assistant.
Mr. Chair, the negotiating team recommends the board approve the labor agreement as enclosed, which includes salary increase of 3% in year 1, 2% in year 2, a $50 a month cell phone stipend, and 10 additional days of vacation.
Can I get a motion to approve that?
Director Lotiger will make motion.
Director Lotiger, support. Director Sather, supports.
Yep.
Any discussion?
I'd just like to mention for all three of these that the minutes show the details also, and not just that we approve the contracts. It's been typical in the past to put the details in there, just as it's on the informational letter.
Okay. Any more discussion? Can I get a roll call vote, please?
Yes. Director Schoberg.
Yes.
Director Lotiger.
Yes.
Myself, Director Sather is a yes. Director Addy.
Yes.
Director Sorkin.
Yes.
Director Gentilini is absent, and Director Yuhan.
Yes.
The labor agreement for the executive assistant is approved.
11.0, new business. 11.1, review upcoming consolidation activities.
All right, Mr. Chair, I got a few things for you. As I mentioned in the last meeting, on June 22nd, we are planning a joint study session with both boards prior to the actual consolidation on July 1st, because we have a number of things that we need to go into. This is by no means a complete list, but just a list that we have formed so far. But we have to, just to give you an idea of some of the things that we have to talk about. Number one on my list is the curriculum. for example, this year's ninth graders are going to be directly affected by the courses that are offered and required by the new district. Virginia and Eveleth-Gilbert at this moment in time have different requirements. So those are going to have to come together somehow, and Angie and Lisa are going to give you guys an update of what they've done to merge those to date, and where some of the decisions that need to be made. Financial info, Spencer will be there to give you some information about where we're at as individual districts right now, and where we have to, some decisions that need to be made moving forward.
And excuse me, Jeff, but would that include a budget for the next year?
Yeah, he's been working on that, and obviously with the unknown of May 12th, he's a little bit behind, but he has been in contact with the state as far as the procedures for what needs to happen as far as keeping Eveleth-Gilbert books open, but he'll explain all that stuff. He's the financial wizard, but that's coming up that night. Student handbooks and staff handbooks, we'll discuss the integration of those, timeline on it. They don't necessarily have to be the same right away, but there are some things that we need to start talking about. Policies, we have different policies, and you have to decide how you're going to move forward with that. Job descriptions vary in both districts, and you're going to have to come up with some commonalities there. We have some changes happening in the central office. We'll go through that, and that's what we have so far. If you have any topics that you can think of that we need to be discussing, feel free to let Noel or I know, and we'll work on that. It's not going to be a short meeting, in case you're wondering. So you might get a good night of sleep the night before.
And pack a lunch, right?
And pack a lunch.
What time are we planning to start?
Well, we haven't said it yet, obviously, but we were kind of planning on 6, because I told them that we may have some stuff we need to clean up for Eveleth-Gilbert beforehand, so which we do. So not that we couldn't do it on a different night, but.
And for this and following meetings, at what point, I mean, are we able to meet as a group as things are loosened up?
We're still, as of today, and this is changing rapidly, but as of today, we can only have 10 people in a room.
Hasn't the governor announced that changes on Wednesday?
Not at 25?
I think it might go to 25 on Wednesday, yeah. We'll look into that. We haven't set the meeting, so there's time for that.
Oh, okay, great. I mean, my feel as nice as it is to sit in my basement, I think we're all missing something by not being able to look at each other than through a 2x3 rectangle.
See, I think it does me wonders for you to only see a 2x3 of me, but.
I agree with you, Matt.
All right. So anyway, there's that. Our first tentative complete new board meeting is going to be on July 1st, because it's a Wednesday. You have some decisions that need to be made right away, and we'll go through those on the 22nd. Just as a note, just because I know this is coming, on July 13th, which is a Monday, and July 27th, which is also a Monday, I believe. Let me check my calendar quick. 13th and the 27th. We'll also be having meetings, because our consulting team, Cunningham and Kraus, need to be going through some things with you and get some stuff approved. So, but I'm just telling you that for date. And basically what that is Bid Pack 1 is on the street today for the high school, and they're figuring that on the 13th they'll have the tabulations done, and they need those bids approved on the 13th. And Bid Pack 2 for the elementary, which is everything else but the groundwork, is going out on the street maybe Friday or early next week, and they figure by the 27th they will have those tabulated and need approval on those as well. That's all I have, Mr. Chair, unless anyone has questions for me.
On 11.1.
Yep.
I have no questions.
Will we still have a regular board meeting? We may have a special board meeting, I know, from some of the things we talked about, but aren't there other things we could wrap up and or still do before?
Are you talking about Eveleth-Gilbert?
Eveleth-Gilbert, yes.
Yes, we obviously we have a couple things we need to wrap up. So the tentative plan right now would be on the 20. Is it second?
22nd.
22nd at 5. All right.
So we'll have a joint session and a regular board meeting on the 22nd?
Well, it'd be a special meeting on the 22nd because our normal meeting is at 6 o'clock.
Right. So we're going to have those our last board meeting as Eveleth-Gilbert on the same days. We're going to have the long
You can
joint studies.
pick a different day. It doesn't matter to me. You can do it the next day on Tuesday if you want.
I would just suggest, and I'm open to either, but if we are going to do it the same day, and if we are able to, have these in person, an hour to meet in our boardroom and then get over to Mountain Iron, probably won't be enough time. So I would just suggest 4:30 if we're going to do it that way, but I'm not married to that day, and there may be some wisdom in having it at a separate day.
I would think so because Virginia would have their last board meeting the same day on the 22nd on Monday. I don't see why we couldn't meet on the 23rd together.
Their last board meeting is actually going on right now.
Because they've decided to do the joint one in lieu of their next one?
Yep.
Well, that's their choice, but just because they're doing it, we don't have to, and we...
No, we have some more business to take care of, and I do not care what, you pick any night that week, we can have a meeting.
Okay,
Huh?
Whatever it is that we will have as our own business, plus that joint meeting, that's a lot for one night. I don't care if we start
That
at
is.
afternoon.
so then let's
Pick a
move it
different
to
night.
the 23rd. I'm fine.
I would
Agreed.
Okay, so we'll move our last board meeting to the 23rd at 6 o'clock or 5 o'clock or.
I'm fine with either.
Either work for me.
What's that?
Either works for me. If I had to pick, I'd pick 5, but either works.
I'll pick 5.
I'm good with,
Holly,
Yeah, fine.
John,
Fine.
Kelly. Okay, so our next board meeting
What?
will be.
Yeah.
Huh? What, Jeff?
He was talking to someone else.
Deb is talking to me because she wants clarified if it's a special meeting or not, which it is because it's not our regular meeting.
So our next meeting will be the 23rd at 5 o'clock, in person or by telepresence.
I'll let you know next week.
Okay. Alrighty. Any more discussion on 11.1?
I'm good.
Okay, 11.2, approved quote for boiler repair. Oh,
This is a big one. We held off as long as we could, but the mud legs on boiler 3 are out in the Eveleth campus. It's leaking like a sieve. Tried doing the old duct tape thing for the last year, but it's just not great, and it needs to be done. So I guess I'd ask you to approve the quote from PBBS.
well, we're still going to be in the school for 2 more years, so yes, I would request a motion to approve the repair of the boilers at the Eveleth campus.
I'll move.
Moved by
Support.
Director Shaver, support by Director Lotiger.
Schoberg.
I know, I did. It,
So, some discussion on this.
any discussion?
is this the only bid that we got, or did we get a couple of bids from anyone?
These
We
are the,
did, Kelly, we got a second one, and there's a third one of something else. Go ahead. Go ahead, Jeff.
I didn't say nothing.
Well, I have one, Bolt
Children.
Build,
You have what?
one by Bolt Builds, a quote for
Okay, bold.
like for $29,950. I don't know, it's just the second, it looks like it's for the same work and it's a different price.
Oh, from Bolt. I got
Yeah.
that one. I'm gonna show you that one in a second.
Okay, and then there's something else for $5,740 from Ryan Company for some seal kits and vacuum pump, something or other.
That just falls under maintenance. I don't need you to approve that. Hang on a sec. Here's the Bolt quote. This is
So
the,
why would we not be approving this one if it's cheaper? Is there a
Right.
difference?
this is the, yeah, you should. I pulled up the wrong one and I apologize again. I'm having a rough night.
Are
Just
we
need
sure
to
they're
go-
exactly the same though, for what we're getting?
I'm going by what Mike told me. I'm not a,
So we should be approving Bolt's,
check it.
Bolt's quote of $29,950.
Okay, and this one was what was recommended by Mike.
Yep.
Okay, so I will amend my motion to reflect the change of approving the full, quote for the $29,950 for the repair.
I'm good with that.
alrighty. Yeah. Any more discussion?
Just as long as they are apples to apples, that's all I want to make sure. And if Mike said they're apples to apples, then that's fine with me, but it looks a little different on here, so I'm not the expert.
This is
Okay,
out of my realm too, so.
Okay, any more discussion? Can I get a roll call vote, please?
Yes. Director Lotiger,
Yes.
myself, Director Sanders, a yes. Director Addy,
Yes.
Director Sorkin.
I abstain. I wish Mike were here, but I abstain.
What's that?
I abstain. I wish Mike were here to talk about both of them, that's all.
So why
It's
would
not-
you,
Not that I'm against it, I just, go ahead.
but you have no monetary value invested in it, why would you abstain?
Because I just like to make sure they're apples to apples, that's, as far as what we're getting for the cost, that's all.
Right?
Director Gentilini's absent. Director Yuhan,
Yes.
Director Schoberg,
Yes.
Director Lotiger.
Yes.
I started with you, didn't I?
Cool.
All right, thanks. Just making sure. Okay. That is, it's approved 5-0 with one abstention.
Okay, 12.0 old business, there is none. Okay, 13.0 administrative report and information.
Well, it's in my best interest just to not talk anymore tonight, so I guess I'd defer to Angie.
Okay, Angie?
Yes, I have a couple things to mention. The first thing I'd like to say is just to thank everybody in our community, the parents, staff that helped out with this class of 2020 graduation. We had our final due at the 29th with the Motorcade Parade, and it went really well. Some of the staff that were helping to get the cars lined up had even said afterwards how much they enjoyed it, and it was so fun and something different. And I've heard many people say they'd like to have it be a tradition at graduation to have a motorcade parade. I think a lot of the community came out to support the kids on that Friday night in Eveleth-Gilbert, cheering them on and made them feel real special. So just want to thank everybody, like the Tide teacher, Tim Koivunen, the police department, fire departments, You know, they led the parade, they trailed the parade, they helped make it special. Hugo Marucci, I want to say thank you to him for, you know, giving 2 days of his time to film our virtual graduation and then airing it for us on the 29th at 8:30. Thank the board for the class banners, for the parent group that raised funds for the banners of each graduate to be hung on the main streets in Eveleth-Gilbert. That was really special. I heard a lot of positive feedback from that. And the cities for putting them up on the street poles. I mean, it was just a real, you know, two communities coming together to support these kids, and it was really special. It was one that will not be forgotten. That's for sure. And then also, I would just wanted to mention that we do have summer school this year, but it is distance learning, so we don't have kids in the. We do have an instructor doing summer school, and he's doing Monday through Thursday for 3 hours a day, working with kids and getting students recovering some credits that they're deficient in. So just wanted to mention that as well.
All right.
Todd, do you have anything?
I just want to thank the board for all your service over the last few years and appreciate your time, and we'll be moving forward to a new chapter. Thank you.
I just have one thing I'd just like to make the board aware of. So I sat in a conference call with the Commissioner of Education last Thursday, and basically what MDE is telling us right now is they're next week they're going to be coming out with guidelines for 3 possibilities for fall opening. One would be distance learning, the other one would be a hybrid model of distance learning and in-person, and the other one would be in-person. All 3 of them are going to be pretty radical changes from what we're used to. Even the in-person thing, the procedures are going to be a little different. But in essence, when they come out with that, they're gonna ask that schools kind of make tentative plans for all 3 of those, and then probably the last week of July they're going to announce which one we do. So there's certainly still lots unknown, but who knows what's going to happen. Things are changing. You don't even hardly hear about coronavirus on the news anymore, so who knows. But that's kind of where the MDE is coming from right now, and even if they do let us come back, let all the kids come back, I mean, there's procedures going to be a lot different as far as keeping them apart and what we can and can't do. So, but we'll tackle it as we know.
I think this is going to have an effect on enrollment, really, in the public schools.
I actually couldn't agree with you more. I think this is going to be devastating to public school.
I do too. Even the in-person one. We're going to wait and see what happens.
We got to wait and see what happens. That's all I have, Mr. Chair.
All righty. 14.0 board member topics. I'll start first. I just say that I attended, when was it, Jeff? We attended the kind of the so-called groundbreaking ceremony at the elementary. It was kind of a small little ceremony. I guess I went there, and it was kind of a pretty cool little ceremony that went on. There was some, the ceremonial dig of the dirt and throw it on the pile. I just thought that was pretty cool. I was glad to be part of that.
We're gonna do better for the high school one because we should be able to have a little more people there. So.
According to Carl Anderson, there's going to be there'll be food there. There'll be food, and
we'll do it the right way.
Yeah. I would hope that we wouldn't do anything until we get invited the public. This is the public's deal, and I did go, and it's not my turn, but I'm going to chime in because I was invited as a representative of the agency and asked to go by the commissioner. But this isn't about feeling good about ourselves. This is about celebrating with the public. It's a celebration for everyone, and frankly, it's time to start bridging things with some. So I think we missed the boat completely. It was a wonderful ceremony. It was great to see the kids, but at the same time, you see 10, 15 kids up there. How about the 220 kids that didn't get invited? I was enough said.
And I didn't see much social distancing either. And during that whole thing, we had 3 kids coming in cab of some heavy equipment that just crawling out of there on the news report.
So let's just hope that we can have a rededication maybe in you know, of the elementary and the high school, probably all at the same time. Hopefully the public would be, hopefully they lighten up the restrictions and, you know.
And particularly when we had 4 hours of meetings on a Tuesday, and then on Wednesday I get an invitation as a representative of the agency, and we had no idea. Without that, I would have read about it in the newspaper, and that's not right.
Okay. All right, I'm done talking. Matt, you done?
I just would like to, you know, I did have a chance to go to the parade in Eveleth, and it was wonderful, and the kids really seemed to be enjoying themselves, and you know, kudos Angie and everyone else for working through a very difficult situation. But it was the parade was, you know, it was like there was other stuff to do, and I think that was the day of the groundbreaking actually. But and it was cold, but I got off the couch, and I'm glad I did.
Okay, go ahead, Kelly. You can do the rounds as board member comments.
Director Johan?
Well, I just wanted to say that I'm coaching Babe Ruth baseball this summer, and I got a schedule today, so kind of condensed. The next 6 weeks, it's going to be kind of tough for me. So the schedule starts on June 22nd, even though we don't have full governor's blessing yet. So I don't know if I can be at that meeting on the 22nd, but I'll just that's what I got for the next end of June and all of July. So hopefully get the blessing to play, and we can play some baseball.
Yeah. Director Sorkin?
Nothing.
Director Lotiger?
Of course, I got to thank everybody again for the graduation ceremony, for the parade, the motorcade, and just, you know, I enjoyed it. I felt like one of the kids. It was so much fun. We rode in the Gilbert fire truck and led the way with the lights going and everything, and it was super cool. The kids seemed to really love it. My kid was beaming from ear to ear as we drove around both towns, and coming around the corner and seeing our family on Michigan Avenue there was pretty cool too. So thank you to Angie again for everything you did. You did your best to be flexible and accommodating and listen to what everybody had to say about that, and that was appreciated for sure by the parent group. And as well to Laura, she did a lot to help us out too. And Charles with the scholarships, you guys did great. And I heard a lot of people say as well that they'd like to see that motorcade as a tradition. The kids, you know, with the social distancing and everything, they would have liked to have done things differently and had trailers and, you know, done a whole parade. And yeah, so I do think that people want to see it as an ongoing thing. Super cool. And then I also heard people say, you know, like they felt like it was a 4th of July. And, you know, seeing all the lights coming down, you know, from the highway and into Gilbert, you know, the family I have, a lot of them's in Gilbert, and they were giving feedback about that. And when they saw the lights coming into Gilbert and all those kids' vehicles behind, they were pretty emotional. I saw people crying, and the other thing that was happening was people were running up to the fire trucks or the vehicles and handing the kids their graduation cards, and pretty cool too. So thank you for everybody, or to everybody, for all the things they did. And then Angie had mentioned, you know, everybody that helped contribute, like for the banners, and I don't want to forget to mention Lake Country Power and Minnesota Power sent trucks to both Gilbert and to Eveleth to put up those banners, as well as both cities doing it. So thank you to them as well.
And also, one other person I forgot to mention to say thank you is the photographer, Dawn, from Allison and Kate Photography. She
Danielle.
donated, Danielle. She donated her time for those 2 days of filming and took a ton of pictures, and she was offering them free to all the families. So there was some you could purchase, but she gave a lot of photos to the families of that virtual reality ceremony, taking pictures. So thank you to her as well.
All right.
And so I'm last. I saved myself for last. I know we will probably talk a little bit at our last meeting as the Eveleth-Gilbert board, but I just want to thank everyone for the perspectives and the ongoing discussion. Some of it, we tend to be passionate with what we do and what we are here for, and sometimes, I know I've been gavelled by Bill, but you know, it's always been good intention. So I want to also really thank Mr. Carey. I think you have done a phenomenal job stepping up and seeing what the potential could be for our school district, and knowing right from the get-go that right when we started talking before the collaboration of the schools or anything, we started talking about administration and started talking about ways to be able to cut in, and you were willing and open to have that conversation right from the get-go because it made sense. And so I really, I think that spoke well of your character and who you are, and I really appreciate that. And so thank you.
Thanks, Kelly.
So our last board meeting together will be the 23rd, correct, Jeff?
Yep.
So, okay, all right, so we'll try to...
I will share my thoughts at that meeting.
I'll just get some cupcakes and maybe some orange pop, and we'll have, you know, make it all good, you know. You're not going away, you're just going over here. You're going over here, you're not, you know. So, but thank you for your service, Jeff. I appreciate that.
Thanks, Bill.
And we'll do a better job of social distancing too, Polly.
Did you hear that?
Assuming we have our board meeting in person.
So hopefully we have it in person.
It'd be nice to see people.
Okay, go ahead, Brandy, you want to say something?
No, I was just on mute and I said agree.
Okay. Any other comments? We're all good? Can I get a motion to adjourn?
I will make.
Motion by Director Lotiger. Support?
Support.
By Director Sather. This meeting is adjourned. Thank you, folks. Have a good evening.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.